Welcome back to the Fantasy Fools channel. In today's video, we are going to be breaking down my AFC South Dream Team. So, let's not waste any time. Let's get right on into it. Start things on off. We're going to be taking our quarterback one and CJ Stroud. And to me, if you would have told me this last year, if I'd be taking him here in this spot, I wouldn't believe you. But after watching him play throughout last year and throwing over 4,000 yards to really just making a lot of smart and key plays for his team. I was genuinely impressed by him. He found targets that I wouldn't have expected. I never expected Nico Collins or Tank Dell to have the years they did, even though Tank Dell did get hurt. But both players had really good seasons and they were kind of going back and forth each week. And then he found his tight end in Dalton Schultz quite a bit. Noah Brown when he came in, and really just any receiver that was in the game, like he found a way to get them the ball. He was really good at spreading the ball around, and I respect that. Like he shows that he's just in it to win. He doesn't have like an ego. He gets the ball to his teammates, and he really did share a good load of the love to everyone on his team. So to me, that's a positive upside. I'm excited to see what he does this year because now this year he does have even more weapons. Like, not that he needed any, but he's got Stephon Diggs now, who I personally think is going to be the wide receiver two on the team. I think Nico Collins will outshine him just slightly. And then you got Tank Dell coming back from an injury. Hopefully he plays well. Then you got a few bench receivers that you can use as well. So he's a loaded there. You look at his tight end, he's still got Dalton Schultz. And then you look at his running backs and Joe Mixon mainly, who's going to be the guy there for him, a receiving back as well. So that just adds another weapon to that passing game. Then you have Dameon Pierce, who has kind of been a disappointment after his first 6 weeks within the league. So um, he still can be used, I guess, a decent amount for Stroud, but we'll kind of wait and see how that goes. But he's got a lot of weapons around him. He's got a solid defense as well. I wouldn't doubt it if we saw these guys in the AFC Championship this year. I just genuinely think they're gonna have an amazing year. But aside from Stroud, we'll get into our running back one here, which is going to be Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor is probably the best running back in this division. I think Joe Mixon can be argued there as well, but Jonathan Taylor has no competition with Zach Moss in the backfield now, so he should be getting the bulk of the carries, and he really doesn't have any depth there on his roster either. So realistically, he's going to be in probably a good 75% of the snaps with whichever running back is going to be the backup. I couldn't even tell you right now because there's three different guys, and I'm not sure who's going to be the backup. So um, he should get the bulk of it, if not a Derrick Henry early type role. Earlier in his career, he was out on the field 75, 80% of the time. So we should be seeing that here from JT this year, and he can catch the ball as well. I just wouldn't doubt it if we saw one of the backups just in there on the passing downs to keep his legs fresh and ready for those first and second down plays, occasionally a third down. But he's gonna have an amazing year. He will probably go for at least 1,400 yards total yards, if not 1,400 just straight up rushing and another three or four receiving. So I wouldn't doubt it if he has an amazing year um, with Richardson. He could be impacted a little bit by Richardson running, now that I think about it, but I don't know if it's going to be too crazy. I think if anything, it'll be goal line touches might impact him a little bit because Richardson can run in the ball quite a bit. So I could see that maybe being a possibility, but we'll kind of wait and see how that plays out. Running back two is going to be Joe Mixon. I think he could even just be the running back one. It just depends on how often he gets the ball, which in this Houston's offense, he should get the ball a decent chunk of the time. He'll be out on the field probably 65 to 70% of the time, and he's a really good runner. He always tends to put up good fantasy points as well. So I kind of think he's going to be the two guy, maybe the one guy, depending on how well that offensive line can block for the running backs this year, because that was a big issue last year. So we'll see if that pans out for him, but he should easily be the top guy. Top two, I should say, in this division. He could be the top guy for all I know. Those guys are pretty close. We'll see how it plays out and which team kind of utilizes their running backs better. Going to wide receivers, I'm going to be taking Michael Pittman as my wide receiver one. I think he's going to have another breakout year this year. He's had two really good seasons back to back. He had over 100 receptions last year, and I think he's going to have even more this year, as long as he kind of gets in tandem with Anthony Richardson. It was a little rough there the few weeks they played together, and I'm hoping Richardson runs the ball a little best and targets his receiver in Pittman a lot because he is a really talented receiver and he should be getting the ball quite a bit on this offense. So it all really kind of comes down to Richardson and what he opts to do here this season with the ball, because he does like to run it. If he is more patient and tries to get the ball to Pittman, I think it's a good thing because we saw with Minshew last year how often Pittman got the ball and was targeted. Like, you need to get Pittman the ball. Wide receiver 2 is going to be Nico Collins. I think he will be the wide receiver 1 on the Texans. It could be like a super close like wide receiver 1-2 like punch with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. I just think the connection between Stroud and Collins will be a little bit stronger since they did have their connection last year. Collins went for over 1,200 yards, so we could be seeing that again this year, and I think we could be seeing Stephon Diggs getting over 1,000 as well. Like I said, Stroud likes to share the ball around quite a bit, so we could see him go for 4,500 plus yards here throwing the ball. Um, so I don't know. It's hard to judge. Like, I went with Nico Collins here. I do have Stephon Diggs on my bench. I know I might take some heat for that, but again, I just think he'll have the better of the years, and he had a really good connection in the red zone with Stroud last year. So there's a lot of intangibles for me to kind of like put Stephon Diggs up here and not Nico Collins, and I think a lot of it just comes down to the connection that Collins and Stroud have already shown in season, rather than out of season. But I think I think that's pretty solid. I would stick with this Nico Collins pick here at wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 3 would be Calvin Ridley here, and I think he might be a little bit of a sleeper this year. I don't know. I think he could have a really good year with a quarterback that does like to sling the ball quite a bit. And I think having D Hop in the offense as well kind of frees up both of them because you can't really double team one player or the other. So either way, it's going to be Ridley or D Hop, and I think Ridley might have the edge here. Now, in fantasy, would I draft him? No. I'm not like high on Ridley when it comes to a fantasy perspective. I'd rather have D Hop, but I do see Ridley having a better year. I know that contradicts what I just said, but it's, I don't know, something just doesn't feel right in fantasy. I don't think I'd even draft either one of the Titans wide receivers, but if I were you, I would go D Hop if I were to draft a Titans wide receiver, but based on what I think might happen, Ridley should have a pretty good year, and Deep probably is your better option. But I put him on here, put my differences aside. He's my wide receiver 3, so I put him in there over Stephon Diggs. So something's, I don't know, saying, oh, he's probably that guy in the offense, but I just don't know truly. Tight end, Evan Ingram. This might be, I don't know, a little bit of a risk. He's really only had like 1 or 2 good seasons fantasy based. Last year being his best, sitting there at the tight end 3, and I don't know, like he just had a really good year, and I think it's going to continue this year because they did lose the weapon in Calvin Ridley to the Titans, and you really only have Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis. So I think Ingram can have another really good year. I think he's going to be like that top guy yet again on this offense. Now, Christian Kirk, yeah, he could be. I didn't put him in here. I'm not like sold on Lawrence or Kirk personally. They both have been super mid in my opinion. Like Kirk did have over 1,000 yards last year. It was kind of like a sleeper 1,000 yards, but like he really hasn't done too much to impress me. Like the year prior, he had a pretty solid season, but like last year, you'd think he'd get open a little bit more with Ridley being on the field and get the ball a little bit more. It's just never panned out the way I thought it would. So um, that's why I wouldn't put Christian Kirk on my team, and that's why I'm kind of going Evan Ingram because I think he will get like a bulk of the targets as a tight end, and I think Kirk and Davis will kind of split the other, reps there. It's, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because you look at the tight ends in this division, and it's kind of like, all right, they're kind of mid type thing, but Ingram stood out last year, and I think he might stand out again this year in their offense that lost a key weapon in Calvin Ridley. My first bench player is going to be Travis Etienne. I did contemplate putting him there at the RB2. It's just he kind of fell off in the second half of the season last year. He started off really good, getting like several games with 2+ touchdowns, having over 100 yards, and then he just slowly declined as the year went on. It wasn't like a massive decline, but it wasn't like his production he was doing earlier in this year. So it was hard for me to judge whether I put him in that running back 2 spot or not. And Mixon to me is just more consistent and always has been. So I wanted to go with consistency there at the running back 2. That's why I put ETN here at the running back 3. Running back in this division is pretty good, in my opinion. You even have Tony Pollard on the Titans, like, and Spears. Like, I don't know. You could really take any running back in this division and probably be fine. Um, but to me, Taylor and Mixon are the two that stand out the most. ETN and Pollard kind of take the backseat to them, in my opinion. My bench wide receiver is gonna be Stephon Diggs. Like I said, I think he's gonna be the wide receiver 2 on the team. I don't think it's gonna be by a lot. It's just like Nico Collins and Stroud had that connection already. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure Stroud and Stephon Diggs are gonna get that connection, but part of me has a feeling that Diggs' ego might get in the way and cost him a little bit this year, whether that be him dropping passes or Stroud just not targeting him like as much as he is with Collins. And I don't think Stroud would hold a vendetta against a player, but you never know. So that's why I kind of go the route of Nico Collins, but we'll see how it plays out. They could be swappable between the two because they're both gonna have good seasons. You could even throw both of them on there, put Ridley on the bench, and yeah, like it's kind of just your gut feeling at the moment. And lastly, Anthony Richardson. I think he is the second best quarterback here in this division. He could be the first with how he runs the ball from a fantasy perspective because he could get you a lot more points, but it'll kind of just depend on what they do in the red zone and if they give Richardson the ball or if they give Taylor the ball because there's a bunch of uncertainty there. Like you never know which player is going to get the ball, and I think both of their values depend on who gets the ball. Like Taylor's value is going to be more so, oh, am I going to get the touches in the red zone type thing rather than running over 100 yards because you want a touchdown from your players at the end of the day. And Richardson is kind of the same way. Like, oh, is he going to run in a touchdown? Because I don't see him throwing for a lot of touchdowns. It's probably going to be the running it in, and I think he ends up running in quite a few this year as well. So we'll kind of see how that pans on out. But that is going to be my team here. My dream team, I should say, here for the AFC South. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you want to check us out on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, Fantasy Fools PPR. If you want to check out our shorts here as well, that will be dropping in about 30 minutes for you guys. It's just the same videos we throw up on TikTok and Instagram where you can just watch it a little bit quicker. I don't go in depth at all. I just name off the players. I just like doing these to break it down for you guys. And yeah, coming up in, I think, a few days, we are going to have our first mock draft up on the channel for you guys. So make sure to check that on out. We're actually going to split that up into 2 or 3, maybe even 4 videos there for you guys to see who we decide to pick at each round. It's going to be myself and my dad, Papa Wyggzz. And then a few of the guys from our fantasy league and my brother and Ethan, who is my brother's friend as well. So be prepared for that because we are going to have 4 people doing that, and we're going to go through the whole draft, and then we're going to break it down afterwards for you guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure to stay on tune for that. If you guys aren't already, make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date. You got the bell as well if you want notifications there. Like and subscribe, comment some videos you'd like to see, and we'll see you guys next time.